Mark 8:27 is pretty straightforward, not a whole lot of surprises. Kai exaelthin, ha Iesus kai hoi mathetai autou, estas komas Caesarias tes Philippu, kai en te hado eperota tous mathetas autou, legon autois, tineme legusin hoi anthropoi enai. And Jesus and his disciples went out into the region of Caesarea of Philippi. And then here you have the temporal use of en to designate while. You don't need it. You could just have the dative te hado. Would be called a dative of time when. So when Greek wants to give a time designation for when something occurs, they put it in the dative. You don't really need the en, but what's happening in Koine Greek is that the simple dative construction is being replaced by the prepositional construction. So, and along the way, and what's this? It's eperotao. It's the imperfect of the verb. And so you could translate it as a simple imperfect. And along the way, he was asking his disciples, saying to them. But one of the functions of the imperfect is to indicate the beginning of a linear action. So it could be, and along the way, he began asking his disciples, saying to them. So if you want to say began, that's the inceptive imperfect, which we learned back in Mark 1:13. Anyway, and as they were going, he began asking his disciples, saying, and this is a little tricky, so you got to get your subjects and verbs right. The verb is they say, the subject is people, so it's a question, okay? So part of whenever I have a little trouble with a question, I tend to make it into an indicative, and then I can later on make it into a question. Men say who me to be. So here you have a word in the accusative functioning as the subject of the infinitive. We call it an accusative of respect. And so it would be translated, men say who me to be. So who do people say that I am is how it generally comes across into English. So I always like examples like this when I'm talking about translation theory. You have to make a choice. Either it's he was asking or he began to ask. Both are totally legitimate translations of the imperfect. Have to look at context and decide. So in phrasing, I would probably put Kai up there on its own, but I'm going to run out of screen space, so I'll just leave it there. And Jesus and his disciples went. They went into the region of Caesarea of Philippi, and along the way, he was asking his disciples, saying to them, and then here is what he actually asked, who do people say that I am? And maybe you could do something like that. Actually, we have room now, so I'm going to go ahead and put that there. So here we go. So, and Jesus and his disciples went out. Where did they go? They went into the region of Caesarea of Philippi, and then another connector. And along the way, he was asking his disciples, and this is in English is redundant, but you could always do something like this. And then what was he asking them? What was he saying? Who do people say me to be?